Welcome back to the studio. It is my favourite session of London Calling. We have 60 students from all around the UK joined us here at London Calling for a STEM session. We really want to nurture the future scientists, the next generation, to be interested in DNA information, RNA information, protein information, and how we can apply that information to solve real-world challenges. And we're very kindly joined today by, oh, I nearly fell off my chair, oh dear. We're very kindly joined today by Jason Williams and Yvonne Chan, who've just given a wonderful talk to our students today, and also students from Whitefield School in London. Thank you so much for joining us. Mona and Mihi, you've very kindly agreed to share some of your thoughts on DNA as part of your future career. But first of all, I'm going to start off with Jason and Yvonne. So share a DNA memory with us to contextualise how we think about this in our careers.
It's so many. I kind of swim at DNA since I work at a DNA learning center at a DNA institution. The first one I'll share, just the story of working at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, sitting at breakfast, reading a book, and the book starts talking about the discovery of DNA, Watson and Crick, and then I realize Watson's sitting behind me having breakfast too. So it's just fun to think about DNA and to be with students who are also interested.
A DNA memory that really stands out for me was the first time I actually extracted DNA and sequenced, and it was the DNA of an African sunbird, and just to see the ACGs and Ts come out on the sequencer, I was just blown away that we could look into the cell and see the sequence of the DNA.
Immersive education, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So, Mihi, tell me, what was the first time that DNA as a subject came into your life? What was that experience?
Well, it was during GCSE science when we were learning about DNA and how it's important to humans and how we use it to differentiate between different species like viruses and bacteria.
Fantastic. And did you learn about human traits that might be affected by DNA as well?
Like hair color, eye color, different features, different advantageous alleles that help us survive.
Fantastic. And what about you, Mona?
As I said, I also learned it during GCSE period, but what stood out to me was the fact that you could have DNA that could be dominant and recessive. So some can be expressed and some just can be held on just as genes, but they're not expressed. So that really stood out to me. And what also stood out to me was the fact that when you learn deeper into DNA, that there's DNA bases that are complementary to each other. So yeah, I found that really interesting.
Fantastic. And that stimulated you to think about a career in science. So I think you were sharing with me earlier what your career ambition is. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm interested to do biochemistry because it talks about how you can incorporate research into science, specifically biological molecules such as DNA. So you can help people in low-income countries figure out how to solve genetic problems with DNA engineering.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic, and you're absolutely right that engineering, synthetic biology, is one of the main sciences that's going to solve some of our problems in food security, when we've got to feed 10 billion people by 2050, all sorts of real-world problems that you can be part of. That's fantastic. So, Mihi, you were telling me about your career ambitions. Share a little bit.
I want to be a heart surgeon in the future and help people that have heart diseases and people that have came out fatal car crashes or incidents that need help, and I want to provide that help to them.
Fantastic. What's driven you in that direction? What's piqued your interest?
Well, it's a bit of helping people and a bit of the money that comes as well from that field.
Fair enough. Life sciences is a really important skill, and you can get a really good salary if you're in life sciences. It's important to think about that. Well, that's fantastic. So, Jason and Yvonne, you're educators. You help students through their career pathways every day. If you're talking to students of this age, what's the kind of top tips that you can give them in navigating a career in science?
I'd say that the most important thing is to try as many things as you can and get as many exposures to different areas of science. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for life science and rooting for DNA. The really cool thing, especially, we're here for Oxford nanopore sequencing, is that students can actually do the exact same things as scientists can do in the lab. what I'm showing a 10th grade student how to do in the lab is the same happening at a research hospital. So that's not usual. Usually if you're going to be a heart surgeon, probably in 10th grade you're going to have to wait a while before you're actually working on a heart. But if you're working with DNA, students can do that right away. So really get as many chances to try something hands-on and answer your own question.
I would say just be curious. Be curious about what's around you, and also just be confident in the knowledge that you can actually create new knowledge. Like, there's a lot that's out there that's undiscovered, and we really need your energy and your focus to help solve all the world's problems.
So, Jason and Yvonne, what are some of the questions that surprise you about genetics and genomics that come from the younger generation on their career journeys?
I mean, I have one. I know you have.
Oh, I would just say one question is like, it's so much of data is native to you because you're used to like all of this power in your phones, and so maybe what surprises me is that you think or that all the discovery is not there, but there's a lot to discover.
One of the things that I'm always interested in, and it's amazing me when students have their questions, is that students usually have more than just one interest. You're not just only interested in biology, you have other interests. I remember one student project where they were interested in art, and they worked at an art museum, but they were actually authenticating ancient artworks using DNA. So they knew that this particular feather arrangement, that if it was really made in this place and time, that used a natural glue, and they were actually looking to see if the organisms that would have been present at that time actually were used. So the fact that you can combine your different interests, you may be interested in being a lawyer, you may be interested in ethics, you may be interested in so many different topics, but you can combine lots of those. So that's really fascinating.
Well, it's really great that you raise ethics, Jason, because I think, it is a really big question. There are so many good things that you can do with DNA information in the future, but do you think that there are dangers around DNA information, and what worries you?
I think there's a lot of dangers that could arise when thinking about DNA because, for example, when you do research into species that are extinct, it's very hard to look at their DNA because you're scared that you might harm the species that you look into. So you have to be very careful to try and aid the species at the same time, try also research about it.
Such an important point, and there's a really fantastic lady here, Miranda Lee Watson, who does work at San Diego Zoo, but she also does a lot of work in Africa and in other regions of the world helping look at critically endangered species, using the genetic information about those species to basically help to sort of rehabilitate the species in the wild and in captive. So we'll hopefully maybe introduce you later and you can talk about that really important, fantastic point about genomic conservation. And Mihi, have you got any concerns about how we use genetic information?
Maybe if we sometimes the DNA sequence we get it wrong, it can lead to a mistake that could be very impactful to let's say we were trying to find the sequence for a virus, but we accidentally messed it up. It can lead to making vaccines for it wrong, and so it would be it can lead to many people dying or having needing to go to the hospital.
I mean, what you are talking about is so important. And in the world of biosecurity at the moment, there is a lot of work being done to sequence viruses and then make sure that vaccines can be made for that virus. And also those vaccines can be scaled up in the manufacturing process. And you're absolutely right. The quality control as you scale up vaccine manufacturing, particularly if you're doing it fast, is really important. And the other thing that's coming, and I don't know if you know much about this, is personalised cancer treatments, which act in a similar way to a vaccine, but are personalised to an individual with the type of cancer that they have. And exactly what you're talking about, it's so important to get it right. And to get it right, you have to see all the genetic variation in whatever it is that you're looking at. So it's a really, really important points from our students. You guys impressed?
Very impressed. I can't help but thinking that when I was in high school, that's when Jurassic Park came out. And so it was like that first story, one of the first stories of DNA and everything go right, but everything go wrong. And it's really cool that students today still think about these things and actually are quite informed, because knowledge is the most important. If we know what the risks are, but also the benefits, we can make good decisions.
So how do you guys think about the new generation that's coming up with a smartphone in your pocket? Gordon opened the talk by talking about the fact that in 1985, 40% of the world's computational powers was in pocket calculators. And now you've got more in your pocket, in your smartphone, than it took to put a man on the moon in whatever year that was. Apologies, can't remember. So how do we think about the new generation? You've got so much computational power at your disposal to generate insights from the DNA information that you can have. What does that mean?
To me, it means fantastic opportunity, because it means very, very seriously that a high school student could be the first one to discover something important. They could be the first one to spot a new agricultural pathogen that was just a black spot growing in something in the field. That could be the case in the US and the UK, but also somewhere in South America, somewhere in Africa, where maybe there's not that many scientists who have access to it. So if we can get things working on smartphones, we can have students in high school making real discoveries that could change the world. So that's exciting to me.
Well, I'm really sorry we're out of time, but I've got an idea. How about we form a team and we fly all of you guys out to Hawaii, and we make sure that we're doing some heart disease genomics, and we make sure that the very first Nature paper formed by a group of students in this studio appears within the year. And then this time next year, we'll celebrate the publication of front cover of Nature, no less. What do you think?
I love this plan.
You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? Let's do it. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all of you to coming along, and thank you so much for talking to us today in the studio. We really appreciate your openness to share your journey. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Jason. It's been great.